Those survivors say they were duped into signing those documents. They were not allowed time to study them, and those stand out to be indemnity documents. Let's have a look at the amount the survivors claim to have received. Now, for every life lost, not this, they have been offered 100,000 shillings only. That is for every life lost, and for every semi-permanent structure destroyed, they receive 200,000 shillings each, and for every permanent structure destroyed, they claim to have received 1 million Kenya shillings. These are some of the figures that have been enraging them, and they are set to go to the streets today to hold demonstrations protesting against that. Let's bring in governance expert Martin Andati to just talk to us about this. Thank you, sir, for joining us on News Center this morning. What is your initial reaction to this compensation, which, as we are learning from those survivors, was not told? They were not told it is compensation. They needed money, obviously, because of what they were going through, and they were told to sign some documents which they claim to have not been given time to study, and it turns out that there is some clause that they cannot pursue further action against the owners of that dam. What is your take on this?
First of all, paying 100,000 for a lost life, I think, is an insult. You know, there is no cost. You know, there's no cost you can put on a human life. But even if you were to put some cost, why would you pay a compensation of 100,000 for a lost life and pay $1 million for a permanent structure? Does it mean that the permanent structures are more important than human lives? But there are still legal issues, very serious legal issues, which are going to come up. Because, you know, you cannot indemnify against the right to life. So I think even if these people signed those clauses out of ignorance, some way will have to be found where they'll still have to pursue the issues of compensation. Right. I think somebody somewhere was trying to take advantage. You know, there was a problem after the people lost their loved ones.
Yes.
Out of this problem. You know, people are normally in distress. And the government was giving 50,000 shillings per family to help them in the burial arrangements, yes, and to help some of those people to be able to resettle. Then the claims, because we will need to dig further to find out whether it's true or not. The claims are that as the people are going to collect the 50,000, they were also being made to sign some forms. And out of that, they were being given some money. So we need to look at the forms critically and get serious legal minds to interpret that. The question is, we have so many lawyers in this, yes, country. They have the professional body, the LSK. Why hasn't the LSK taken up this issue on a pro bono basis? Because this is a public interest issue. Two, we have the NGOs, which agitate and fight for the rights of the downtrodden. Where are they? They are missing in action. Mm-hmm. Three, the MP for the area, Samuel Gashobo, came up yesterday. For all this time when these people were signing these documents, I mean, he should have been informed and at least gotten a legal mind to help the people understand what they were signing. So, you see, he's coming much later in the day. And, you know, now all these issues are only coming up because the DPP issued instructions that the owners of the dam and the managers and some people should be charged.
Yes.
So it is out of that now we are remembering that there is Solai.
All right. So speaking of the DPP, do you think he has been a bit reactionary?
The DPP gave the DCI 2 weeks to carry out investigations. Yes. And out of those investigations, I think that is where now the decision was made that they charge some of those people.
All right.
But you know, there will be a lot of legal questions arising. You see, like some of the people, you know, the Solai Dam was built in 1990. Who was the PC in Rift Valley then? Yusuf Haji, who is the current senator of Garissa, and is the father of Nuruddin. Now, you take a DC who went to Molo the other day, to Subukia, to this place to take charge the other day, 6 months or 3 months ago, and you are holding him culpable for not having stopped a dam which was built in 1990. It doesn't make any sense, you know. Then there are people who authorized the construction of the dam that time, who are in office. Some of them could be alive, some of them could be dead, some of them have retired. So somebody who has been appointed the other day, now you are holding him liable for decisions and actions which were done in 1990. You know, all those issues are going to come up.
What do they say about the strength of the DPP's case?
I think the DPP needed to study the file further, so that you know, he should not just be seen to be. You asked whether he's being reactionary. I think because of the public pressure, he would want to be seen to be doing something. But you know, it's not just a question of rushing and charging people without having enough evidence. Yes. Because you need to find out, for all this duration, the dam has been in existence. So who are the people who authorized the dam to be constructed that time? Now, you are holding, you see, like the county CEC, yes, the county director of water. Some of these, the counties were not there then. So how are you holding him culpable for decisions which were done in 1990? You know, all those issues are going to come up. And even if there are liabilities and assets you are supposed to take charge of, people will be asking. If Kitili came to this show and you found there are decisions which were made by your predecessors, it's very hard for you to take responsibility for some of those actions, you know. So absolutely, yeah, the DPP needs. He should have told the DCI to carry out further investigations, and we need the lawyers to study those documents so that they see how to help these people to pursue issues of compensation. But you know, the criminal liability aspect and the compensation, those are two different issues. All right. Yeah, the fact that this Solai intended to pay these people some money does not stop them from being held criminally culpable for their criminal activities. All right, you've mentioned some of these things that were done a long time ago when the dam was being constructed, some 28 years ago. Yeah. But there's something about inspection of these dams. Do the current officials, is that where they come in? Yeah, they are supposed to come in and they are supposed to supervise. And they should have checked whether the paperwork was properly done. If you realize that the paperwork was not properly done, then that is when you are supposed to enforce. Because they should have, there are normally routine inspections which go on. You know, you move around, you check the water sources, you know, even the permits, they are the ones who still issue. So they should be able to move around and check and see, did these people meet the requirements? Right. How was it constructed? And if all the necessary procedures were not followed, then on that basis, they should have had the ability to close the dam, or to order the owners to drain it. Let's talk about the human aspect here. Let's talk about those survivors of that tragedy of the Killer Dam. The compensation, you've mentioned the 100,000, of course, is almost an insult. Yeah, to some of these people. There's a gentleman who says he lost 4 children, yeah, so he's been given 400,000 shillings. Can you imagine that? So there was a lot of public backlash when this tragedy happened a few weeks ago, and the Patel, the owners of the dam, you know, were seen, you know, to be not very good people. Where does this place them now? Does this help them in trying to prove that they are innocent in all this? The fact that they are trying to issue such a paltry sum for compensation for lives lost, and the fact that they're trying to hide some things in those documents, does it help their case? You know, if you look at property, you know, you cannot say that you are giving people, even for compensation, forget about even the issues of life. Right. If you are talking, first of all, about property, you cannot give uniform compensation for property. Because one permanent house is not the same as the other, you know. And one would have needed to do evaluation, or at least you have some drawings to be able to show the kind of building that you had put up. The question is, in the rural areas, you know, when people build houses in the rural areas, they don't get approvals. So they just decide and build. Yes. And now the house that you had has been demolished. So unless you have like photographs, it becomes very difficult for you to quantify. And other people saying they had vehicles and all that. There are people who have also lost vehicles. There are people who have even lost certificates, you know, and other properties. So how to quantify all that becomes a bit of a challenge, you know. And you will need to go through the court process. Now, the question is, if you have agreed to cede your rights,
yes,
it becomes very difficult because you're already agreeing. And, you know, if that document is true the way they are saying, then somebody is playing poker on these people.
Right.
Because you take advantage of people who have a problem and they are in distress. Then you come in. We need to know, were they being given this money the way the government was giving the 50,000? You know, it was not compensation. Yeah. They were just being helped some money to help them carry out the funerals. Yeah. They were also being given some money to help them settle at that point in time. So what was the money that they were being given 100,000 to help them settle? So that, or to help them cover some of the costs for burial, right. Or was it accommodation? You know, those issues need to come out, because I don't think one will compensate 100,000 shillings for a life. But we will need to see the documents, and they need to come out. Right. The Patel people need to come out. But you know, their lawyers will be very guarded. You saw the statement issued by Monari.
Yes.
They have said that they will work with the DPP and the justice system. So, you know, it's not coming out on generalities, because I don't think they want to commit them on things which will ultimately mess up their case when the thing ends up in court.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, does this indict some government officials? We understand from our sources that these payments, when they're being done, the 100,000 shillings, 200, a million, they were being done under the supervision of some government officials, the assistant county commissioner in charge of that area, the deputy county commissioner in charge of Rongai in the county of Nakuru. What does this say about the fact that some government officials were in the know about this?
If they are accomplices, then they should be charged for that. Because, you know, it will be wrong for them to connive with the Solai Patel Dam people to defeat the cause of justice, because unless they were helping them get the money to help them carry out the burials. But if they knew, and you know, in the village, the DC and the DOs have a lot of power. So if you are called to the office of the DC in your place, even here, you know, you will go there, and if they tell you that there is a document here you need to sign, you know, the villager will not go arguing. And if it is proved that indeed they were accomplices, then they must take responsibility. And that's why the OP, headed by CS Matiang'i, needs to come in very fast and carry out investigation, so that we know what role did those officers play in this whole mess. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is your take on the investigation so far? We know there's a story here about the Senate, members of the Senate who have been probing this matter, saying there's been a plot to try and stop them. Mutula Kilonzo saying they have received calls from within the country and outside, some forces trying to stop them. How do you think the Parliament has probed this, and of course the Office of the President? How do you think it has handled this issue?
The OP, after the issues of compensation and after the President attended the burial, I don't think they have done much. And you know, there was a bit of support coming in from the government. Then the NGOs came in, and of course a few of those politicians. You remember Senator Moi going there with some blankets and mattresses, and even Ngunjiri also went there, and he's given some of those people some support, and that's why you can see the conflict between him and the area MP. But beyond that, there doesn't seem to be a structured and organized way of helping the people out. Mm-hmm. So you see, you know, we are a country that forgets very fast. You get a problem today, it is all over. You see now, we've forgotten about NYS. Nobody's now talking about NYS. We've moved on to sugar. We've now finished sugar. We were yesterday talking about Ojamong. So now this one is only coming up because the DPP has said that we should prosecute some people. So we forget very fast as a country. And some of those people, you see what the MP was saying, that their land was washed away. Yes. So the place is a rock. So you can't even put up any structure there. Now, some of those people were in schools. They will need to buy some new land. And the Patel people, even if they wanted to look for a way of helping those people and compensating them, they should have had a structured way of engaging with the people, including the political leadership,
yes,
including the churches, including the people who were affected. You bring them together. You know, even most of them were not cancelled. And the trauma, you know.
Yes.
So you bring them together, you sit down and work out and see if their farms were washed away, then how do you sit together with them and maybe possibly identify another piece of land which you can buy for them and then be able to put up some structures. They might not get back everything that they lost, but at least they can be able to go back to their lives and be able to carry on with their day-to-day activities.
All right, from the information we do have so far, and the Standard here is reporting that the management of the farm has denied that parliamentary committee on environment's crucial information and directed them to their main offices in Nairobi. There seems to be a dodgy feel from the owners. Do you see any way out for them?
The Senate needs to finish its report. And, you know, parliamentary reports are public. So that, and they need to come out and tell us, who are these? You know, when you just say some top or influential people, do those people have names? They need to tell us, or they put it in the report, because I watched the clip. It was Senator Sakaja and Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr., who are saying that they are being influenced. So they need to go on record and tell Kenyans that it is so-and-so who is trying to influence this report.
Yes.
So that they document it, and Kenyans know that it's so-and-so who is trying to document. And they tell Kenyans what kind of undue influence is being exerted, so that we know what interest do they have in this whole matter. Because just mentioning some top people without giving specifics is not helping anybody.
Yeah. Let's talk about the political undertones that have played out between Gashobe and Ngunjiri. What is your take on that?
Gashobe says that Ngunjiri wants to get political mileage. But these are two different constituencies. Because Ngunjiri is from Bahati. Gashobe is Subukia.
Yes.
So what he was complaining on that clip which you played is he says that the Ngunjiri went there with some people, lions, and some other people who went to help those people without involving and informing him. Of course, courtesy will demand that Ngunjiri should have informed him. But you know, there is no law anywhere which will stop you from helping people who are in distress. The question is, he is saying that Ngunjiri wants to get political mileage. But these are two different constituencies. I don't think Ngunjiri is going to abandon his Bahati to go and buy in Subukia. So unless he wants to run for a county seat, maybe like a senator or governor, then Gashobe will be complaining that Ngunjiri wants to get political mileage. But otherwise, what political mileage will he be seeking from that particular place?
All right. Do you see the arrest, if it's going to happen, of the bosses at Patel Dam or farm? Do you see it doing anything to help this investigation?
The investigations are supposed to have been completed. But was 2 weeks really sufficient to carry out proper investigations? And you know, the rate at which we are moving, the DPP seems to be issuing too many orders. And when we rush some of those investigations because of we want to be seen to be working or because of public pressure, you know, if you take the courts to court without adequate evidence, the judges will just throw them out. So we would rather take a bit of time, even if there is so much pressure. Let's take a bit of time, let's carry out proper investigations, and you have a watertight case. So that when you present your case in court, it becomes very easy to earn a conviction. But if we are going to do shoddy work and we want to play to the gallery, the public and the media gallery, so that we be seen to be doing something, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, the case gets dismissed, those people have lost, and nothing happens. And then the culprits walk scot-free. Another issue comes up, like the same, then we will be able to forget about this and now talk about the other one. You remember even the issue of Masinga? Yes. Masinga is owned by Kengen. And the dams overflew. We had, there was so much water, and now it was affecting the people in the Tana Delta. Has anybody talked about their compensation? We've forgotten. Nobody's talking about addressing those issues. Because the water which was coming from Masinga was affecting the people downstream in Tana Delta, you know.
Right.
Their homes got destroyed. Some of them were displaced. I don't know whether there are any lives which were lost, but nobody is even talking about it.
All right.
Yeah.
So ideally, from where you sit, because we've seen what happened with the Solai Dam, it was tragic. We would hope that such never happens again. It happened, the overflow in Masinga, affecting people downstream. What should happen ideally in the future when such not very natural calamities happen?
You know, we are not proactive as a country, and we also don't like operating within the realm of the law. There is too much impunity. You've seen people building even on riparian wayleaves. You remember the issue of Athi River, the ones you were covering the other day, the superior homes where the houses are. You know, there is a contestation between what is supposed to be the riparian wayleaves. But you see, there's greed. Because if you block the area which the water is supposed to use to flow,
yes.
When it floods the way it was flooding in Athi River, you remember it even closed the road at one time. So, and the same thing has happened in Nairobi here. We have built all over the water on the riparian wayleaves, we have built on the waterways, and we are having problems. Then when the water comes and destroys some of those structures, we start complaining. So we need. And you know, you remember what the late Wangari Maathai used to say, if you destroy nature, nature will destroy you. We must be proactive as a country, and we must try as much as possible to learn and live within the realms of the law.
All right.
It's not easy, but it's doable.
As we wind up, do you see these survivors at Solai getting a reprieve?
I hope you people now in the media have highlighted it. So we hope that the government should come in. We also hope that the NGOs should come in, and the LSK. And the lawyers who come from that area should also be able to help some of those people on a pro bono basis so that their rights are not violated and they don't lose everything.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Martin Andati, governance expert, just helping us to put some perspective on the issue of the Solai Dam tragedy, compensation row. A group of them saying they were duped into accepting some form of payment, which they did not think it was compensation, but it turned out it was indemnity documents, but that matter is what's happening. They did say they will hold demonstrations in Nakuru today. Our man there, Elfas Lagat, is keeping an eye on things to find out what will be happening. The Director of Public Prosecutions, Nordin Haji, has issued arrest orders for the owners of the managers of the Patel Dam and some other people who have been enlisted alongside him. We are keeping an eye on that story for you. Let's now cross borders to the county of Kisumu.